All right, it is time now for our weekly news review and preview, and we have joining us here from the WRGA News Center, we have David Crowder, our news director. We have John Bailey, editor of the Rome News-Tribune, and again, we say this every week, another busy week in news, and we're just going to do this with late-breaking news from, I guess, yesterday concerning the cardiologist deal at Harbin with Advent and all the other things that are going on between Harbin and Atrium.
Right.
So it is getting kind of a bit on the confusing side. So, John, you wrote the story, so tell us, kind of give us a little background on what is going on here, because
Sure.
How does this affect the deal or the partnership with Harbin and Atrium?
And that's a good question that we honestly don't know the answer to. And good morning, everybody. So background, in December, well, even further background, we know that our two hospitals and hospital systems were purchased by larger hospital systems. Redmond was purchased by Advent Health, and so is now Advent Health Redmond. And Floyd Healthcare System was purchased, which is Floyd Medical Center, which was purchased by Atrium Health, which is now Advocate Health. If you want to really start confusing things, we're just going to say Atrium.
Let's minimize the confusion this morning. We might just do Floyd.
So if you
Redmond.
really want to get detail, we can dig in. We can just like hawk off in the weeds and just.
Yeah, we don't want to do
that. Anyhow, so in December, so we have those things. Those things happened over the past year. In December, Harbin and Atrium, which is Floyd, confirmed that they were in talks to enter what they refer to as an affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are all the details of that proposed affiliation? I don't know yet. Those are pretty much under wraps. However, we'll say physicians groups like Harbin across the country have been in the past couple of years pretty much at their most valuable point. And these big, larger hospital systems have been buying up physicians groups as quickly as possible, honestly. And what the affiliation would look like, not knowing what the affiliation really would look like once it's completed, even if that's already been set in stone, which nothing has come out with that, remains a question. And how would that affiliation, the real question has been, how would that affiliation affect Redmond, right? Because these doctors at Harbin work wherever, they're essentially contracted out. And so you had this group of cardiologists, the eight well-known cardiologists in this area. These guys are community guys, well-known, decided essentially to leave the Harbin Physicians Group and to go to work for Advent Health Redmond. Now, Advent Health Redmond is the heart hospital.
Right.
To get back, because the weeds is the place where this story lives. Several years ago, Floyd Medical Center, sought what is called a certificate of need, which is essentially saying, hey, this area needs this service,
Mm-hmm.
and we can provide this service. And they sought that for cardiology, right? And then they can do, emergency stuff, but like heart surgery,
right.
When you get more in depth, they sought that. They've been denied that up to this point. Conversely, Redmond also sought a certificate of need for obstetrics, birth and babies.
Right.
And they were granted that. And Redmond, when they were under again, it's super complicated. Redmond, under its previous ownership, which is HCA, began kind of building out what it was going to be an obstetrics wing. And as far as I can tell so far, since Advent took over Redmond, that's kind of been put on the back burner, if not just sort of even scuttled. And now Advent in Calhoun does birth babies. They've got obstetrics.
Right,
so it's not like, it's not it's nothing like they don't know what they're doing or they don't know how to do it. So going forward, what does this mean? I think, and this is just where we delve into the realm of opinion again, I think this shows, and having talked to several doctors, some of whom are actually staying at Harbin, right, just about their feelings about the entire thing, not the deal, because nobody was talking about the deal.
So this is not this deal with Advent is not a one between Harbin and
No, these
this is
specific
the
doctors.
specific doctors group
Left
that is
Harbin.
okay, right? Because
To go
that
to
was kind of
Advent.
confusing,
Right.
And I can understand why. But
And so they've left Harbin pretty much. I mean, I think there's 10 or 11 cardiologists, or in that department in Harbin, and so 8 of them have gone to Advent.
okay,
Now, I've heard there's talks for more. I've heard there's talks for doctors of other, disciplines also doing the same thing from Harbin, leaving to go to Advent or elsewhere. I don't know if that's true or not. That's talk.
well, if you had a situation where you've got the hospital group that it's going to be an outright takeover of a physicians group,
Which it could be.
then I guess doctors can say, well, based on my discipline, I'd prefer to practice at this facility versus another facility, and you could see that happening.
I would also argue this is a concern that Atrium's takeover and or affiliation, whatever it ends up being, of Harbin is a direct move against Floyd County's other hospital, Redmond, and that could harm Redmond overall, right? And then following that to the logical conclusion, that makes Atrium the only hospital system in Floyd County, and I think people in the community, again, we kind of talked about loyalty to the hospitals and how long they've been around, and
Right.
the battle lines have been drawn a long time ago, would be very concerned. I'm concerned about that. I like to see the ability for more. This is, again, me personally. I personally like to see a healthy competition. And I think we have a healthy competition for good services, with Atrium and Advent, or Floyd and Redmond. And I think that's good for our area.
Yeah, look how lucky we are. I mean,
Exactly.
how many communities have 2 hospitals?
That's true. And I mean, and
not
they're
many.
both
I mean,
both
outside of
really good
Atlanta,
hospitals.
Yeah.
So you add that, throw Harbin on top of that, we have amazing healthcare services at our disposal here, right?
And one that's had surgery at both hospitals. Both have,
Right.
have been very, it's been great
Right.
experiences.
Oh, same. I mean, yeah. And so I get their concern, and that was my main concern when we first started hearing about the again, I'll use their term, affiliation between Harbin and Floyd. What does that mean for the other hospital, and what does that mean, looking towards the future for all services that we can receive? And I get that. That's a big concern.
Well, it's and you go back and for years, and everybody likes the habits and everything. You had the heart hospital, and then you had the baby hospital. I mean,
Yes.
that's kind of how you separated the two.
Absolutely.
And then you had Harbin right in the middle of that was providing the surgeons and all the follow ups and things like that.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of a nice convenient. And now you've got something where you're not really sure what you have. You still have great medical care, but you're not really sure where your surgeons or your doctors where they're going to end up.
Right.
Sometimes. So.
Well, and there was I think with this physicians group, you had your doctors were readily available to both hospitals.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen in the future. However, if you look at it from a competition standpoint, my concern is that why would you want it to continue that way? And again, this is delving into me speculating in an opinion, why would you want the other hospital to have all those services and be able to provide all those services when you would like to provide those services, right? I mean, if this hospital, all right, I'm just going to, again, complete speculation based in nothing but my imagination at this point. But if Hospital A, we'll call him Floyd, wanted to have cardiology, right, or wanted to have heart surgery, and Hospital B, we'll call it Redmond for fun, couldn't provide that service because they don't have the doctors to provide that service, then they could, I would argue, say, hey, we need that certificate of need because they're not doing their job. Grant it to us, that way we can build out our cardiology wing. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I think that was one of the scenarios that was described to me as a concern.
Well, one other thing, too, that you might want to put in that thought process is that, all right, and this has really nothing to do with medical, but with the growth that is we're experiencing in this area right now, and will be experiencing more.
Sure, look to, yeah.
It's probably a good idea to have the ability to have heart care at as many hospitals as possible.
Oh, I don't disagree
and
with that
also
at all.
the maternity care.
Yeah.
Birth and babies.
Birth and baby. I can't say the O word there. I just won't work.
Obstetrics.
it's very hard. I get in the middle of the word and then I just lose it.
Oh, I do.
But as well, because you don't really overload one or the other.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And there were moves in the legislature this year to basically scrap the Certificate of Need program. I see why I could see that as a good idea. Atrium, Floyd provides amazing care. Advent, Redmond provides amazing care. Why wouldn't you want everyone to be able to offer these services? I think originally it was so essentially you could basically talk a hospital, hey, build here. We'll give you essentially the monopoly, right, on this particular point of care. And that way you want to invest in that area, right? We've got the investment. The investment's made. Yeah. We have two hospitals and a physicians group who are very active in the community. They're very active in giving to the community. They're very active in, how they build up and really have created this community. The doctors that come in, the nurses, the physician's assistants, you can see them very extremely active in what's going on and what Rome is now.
And something else, and Dave, the Piedmont Medical Group now is in this area. And we haven't talked about this much, but and it's kind of been under radar, but if you take a look at what's going on in Calhoun, which could be creeping in this area, Hamilton Medical Group is expanding as well. So all of a sudden you've got all these big, extremely successful hospitals that are finding a need to be there, especially with
Piedmont bought Cartersville Medical Center out.
Yeah,
and HCA was selling off. HCA was the owner of Redmond and Cartersville Medical Center in this area, and when they basically sold off their non-urban properties, Piedmont moved into Cartersville. Cartersville's just next door, and they bought out. At least the branding, I'm not sure how that works out for the doc in a box, like the urgent cares. Two urgent cares. I got one right next to my house.
Well, and also the family medicine groups that are out there. Because I go to a Harbin doctor.
Right. Same.
And that was, I guess, once looked at, that was sort of that's the pool of physicians that are available for whenever at either hospital. That was the luxury of having a group like Harbin for hospitals. So I guess we don't really know where this sets us. It will continue
depending
this
on your insurance.
Well, that too, yeah.
What about patients? Who are on one set of insurance that has a deal with one of the entities, and now they're changing entities. What about keeping
and indigent care,
your doctor? Yeah.
That's still, I guess, it's still going to be on Floyd because it is the county hospital.
And that's another question because now they're both nonprofits. Because remember, Redmond under HCA was a for-profit institute. They're all for-profit. Let's just say that, but not for profit. So Floyd does indigent. Now I can't pronounce it.
Obstetrics and indigent, two different words.
Indigent care. And they write off a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no question that here's the thing. And this is, again, opinion. I want everybody to win because we need everybody to win because they all provide services to us. And we're better for having these three groups here.
Well, this is under development, and it's still an ongoing thing, and more details hopefully will come to light. And I know you guys are going to stay on this, and we'll have maybe part 2 of this sometime during the week next week as it continues on. So, All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to put this up on the website. You'll be able to go back and re-listen to this if you missed anything or are still trying to figure something out like we are. We'll have this on the First News on Demand coming up probably this afternoon. It'll get posted up on the website and in the podcast. Right, John, Dave?
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
y'all
guys.
go have your weekend now. Thank you very
thank
much.
you.